Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays in the newly buffed Russian tier 10 heavy tank, the IS-7. Now it got buffed in the whole blitzkrieg of changes that they did recently. What happened to it? Well, it got quite a lot of very significant changes for it. It got accuracy on during the movement and rotation by 0.1, which is not that really that significant generally. 0.4 accuracy down to 0.36, 13.7 reload down to 12.5, aim time from 2.9 to 2.7, accuracy during turret rotation from 0.8 to 0.6, and the engine power went from 1050 to 1200. Now these changes are really significant for this tank because it becomes more accurate, it becomes quicker, it becomes generally only a little bit more snappy. And the changes to this tank were, I don't know, I always thought the IS-7 was okay. I never really ever thought it needed a change. It didn't need love like the IS-4 did, because it could always hold up for itself. And I'm against buffing guns like they have with the IS-7, where they make it just more accurate across the board. And they seem to have done it with quite a few tanks. The whole point of this tank is it's supposed to be aggressive, on the front foot, in the enemy's face. So generally the gun is not that accurate for range, but it doesn't really matter too much having 0.4 accuracy when you're in people's faces because you're going to hit them anyway. But that 0.36 accuracy really helps the tank to now just be like pretty damn accurate across wherever it wants to shoot. 2.9 aim time down to 2.7 as well is pretty nice because the gun will get aimed in quickly. And again, it just makes the gun a little bit more snappier as well with the hull and turret rotation buffs that they gave it, although those were minor really. It just makes the gun more accurate and, like I say, just more accurate generally. And I'm not a big fan of buffing accuracy across the board when accuracy is already kind of ridiculous. Obviously a big buff to the tank as well that came in was plus 20 minus 20 RNG, because that meant that the pen RNG is balanced and the armour of the tank actually works again, and you're not going to get penned in the upper plate every single time these times. Well, not every single time, but you know what I mean. There was a lot of times where tanks would just easily pen your upper plate and you'd be sitting there going, how and why? I'm very disappointed by this. But now the armour's pretty decent again, which is good. So in this game we're on Arctic region and I've taken a very aggressive position. There is one Arctic that could hurt us, but I'm like, you know what, actually, it's fine, I'll take this position here because we're doing some good work from here. We've managed to get 3k damage so far. We're trying to get another shot into the C100. We get one straight into his lower plate, 518, which is nice. It's a high roll, which is another nice thing that we've got with balanced RNG again. And we're just looking for a shot through the side of the turret of the E5, which goes straight in. And this position is working. It's just paying dividends for me right now. I'm benefiting so hard from using it. But unfortunately, they're starting to pull back a little bit. And I am still very, very wary that artillery could poop on me. And that won't be very good. So I'm going to pull forward and I'm going to try and get forward to get a shot into the E5 again. But as we pull forward, we spot a Jagdpanzer at the end, and the Jagdpanzer is just awkward. That makes this whole thing awkward. We get a nice shot into the side of the FE215B as he pulls out. But I really wanted to get the Jagdpanzer because the Jagdpanzer is going to make this just difficult. Because I could put around this corner and he could just... well, he could just peg me for 1,000, and that's not going to be very pleasant, is it now? We're up to 5.5k damage, we're up to a good game. Artillery finally strikes, but he actually ends up hitting the poor Waffle Panzer IV behind me for a lot of damage. Hits me for about 600 or so as well, because balance. We get another shot into the Progetto 65, and the Jagdpanzer is just pulling back, so we're trying to get a shot into his lower plate. Unfortunately, we can't quite get it in. The Jagdpanzer is the danger. He's the one that's making this really ridiculous for me in this situation. Because I want to get rid of him. If I don't get rid of him and I decide to push too aggressively, well, I'm just going to lose a lot of hit points. So we get another shot into the T-57 Heavy's turret. The artillery hits us again, puts us down to 343 hit points, which means we're now at one shot for a lot of tanks. And that's really annoying because that's really going to hinder us on this attack. And I'm deciding, you know what, if I sit there, I'm just going to get arted. The likelihood is like that T-57 Heavy could just drive forward, take the hit from me, and then put two shots, well, not even two shots, put one shot in and kill me. So I'm like, you know, actually, I'm just going to change the direction I'm fighting in. There's no point in fighting that corner, it's just death now. We made a mistake by sitting there for too long and fighting on that corner. We should have realised sooner. So we come over this way, we managed to get a shot into the 13105 to finish him off. Now the light tank that was behind us is gone, the T-57 Heavy and the Projectile 65 are pushing a little bit more aggressively into the friend here. Unfortunately, a shot goes into the side of the Projectile and doesn't pen. We needed that to pen because otherwise this shot right here would have finished him off. And unfortunately, because of that, he managed to bounce on our side somehow. But we get finished off by the T-57 Heavy on the move. Oh, if we managed to shut down that projectile, we could have survived a little bit longer, maybe pulled back a little bit safer into position, but we couldn't. And unfortunately, that game ends up in a defeat. But it was a nice game for the IS-7, and it kind of showed off what the buffs can do pretty well as well, which is nice. Because, like I say, the accuracy of the tank means that you're very rarely going to miss shots, unlike I did with the Projectile 65, unfortunately. But anyway, in terms of the crew that I run on this tank, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Track Mechanic, Run and Gun, Snapshot, and Armour Angling. Now, in terms of Armour Angling, you could run, quite easily on this tank, you could run the firefighting skills, because the firefighting skills are pretty necessary for this tank, actually, to be honest, because it gets it on fire quite a lot if you get shot in the back end. So being able to either have it so that you're 33% less likely to get set on fire, or just that it puts it out quicker when you do get set on fire, is definitely a nice thing to have in the crew skills. And you could also run other things like the rapid aim to make the turret rotation better. You could have some of the ground resistance perks as well to make it so that the tank moves a little bit quicker over certain terrains. You know, there's so much you could do with that other perk slot. I mean, you could run general mechanic as well and have both repair skills to be able to repair, like, basically if you get tracked it just insta repairs and you never have to worry about burning your repair kit on a track. You can just, well, repair yourself basically and just make sure that you've always got that repair kit for an ammo rack and things like that. So on the second game we're on Vineyards. And we're coming up to this position up here at A45 because there tends to be a fair few tanks that come this way. And if I'm on this map, generally the JK line from our spawn is not a great way to go, because it tends to end up being that they rush to the position that I like to use at K5, spot you out, you end up getting stuck in that position and just get farmed. And if you try and push their team too much, they also come and wreck you. So I come this way from our spawn, and unfortunately the Pleb there has got destroyed. It's because there's Stone Cold, and then there's an FV4005 that came over, did a lot of his health, well, one shot of his health actually to me. He did a fair bit of damage to Limiverous, unfortunately, without taking much in return. But we're under pressure here because of the Stone Cold, the FE4005, the E5, and the 279E. This is going to be a tricky fight. We get a shot straight into the Stone Cold there. We've loaded the APCR because we're not really going to pen the 279E without it. But the FE4005 was one I was aiming for there, because silly the 4005 could just drive around blappers for 1,100 and we'd end up hurting. But these guys are giving us guaranteed pens when they're driving round. I actually could have shot the 279E there, but I actually went for the Stone Cold, and that's, like I say, that's because he was giving me a guaranteed pen. Unfortunately, we missed there, which is really annoying. But yeah, the reason I went for the Stone Cold and not the 279E is because I was guaranteed to pen the Stone Cold, and I'd rather go for the guaranteed pens to get the tanks out of the game rather than potentially just sit and bounce on a 279E, you know. But this 279E is attacking my friends, so I'm coming in to try and help this 277 because, not 277, the 777 version 2, because, well, he needs help, right? He's not going to guarantee deal with this guy by himself. So we come in, deal with that. Now there's an Object 268 version 5, sorry. He's come in, and it's like, okay, hello friend, what are you doing? We get a shot into his back. He's not fired yet, so I don't know what he's done. He finally fires, puts one into the 777 version 2. Thank God that wasn't us that took that hit. That's what you're probably thinking at that point. and he's gone. And after that little bit of hecticness, we've managed to win this flank. It's because they pushed really aggressively. They got too bold. We had a couple of TDs backing up me and the 777, and we managed to get away with it. I'm quite glad the 2790 didn't focus me down. He just ran away from me, because that made it easier to deal with him. So now we're going to push onto their base. They've still got quite a lot of tanks left. They've completely crushed the JK, which always happens from their team. And yeah, it's like, okay, what do we do here? I kind of want to push into the base, try and shoot whatever's in this base, like the Sentinel 7-1 here. I know, like you can see, they've got quite a lot on their camper hills and around there, so I'm expecting them to actually try and come back for this base. So we've come out over here. We've got 2 TDs in our base defending it, so I'm not too worried about that at this moment in time. I just want to try and get tanks off the board. We shut down the Centurion 7-1, then we managed to bounce something from in the distance. And we're just going to switch up our line of attack here to try and get a shot at this heavy tank in the middle. Because he potentially might give us shots, but we end up getting spotted, which means there's something somewhere that's spotting us. And it's like, what is it? Where is it? I don't think it was the IS-7, there's something else. It must have been... The IS-4 must have spotted us, or whatever it is that is down there. Yeah, it is the IS-4. He must have spotted us. It's the only thing I can think of. Otherwise, there's a lot... it might have been the light tank that's just down there that's been floating around. But we get a nice shot into the IS-4. We're looking for shots into the IS-7. Really, right here, I should have loaded premium, because then I would have guaranteed being able to go through this IS-7 if he gave me the good shot. But, I mean, we'd go through it anyway. It's just that if we got a shot on his upper plate, we might have penned it. But this engagement is where the buffs to the accuracy and the aim time is going to help us, because we're going to be able to just keep poking out and having the gun snapped on target quick enough and accurate enough to be able to hit some of the weak spots at distance, like the IS-7's lower plate. Now the IS-4 is actually a bit of a pain, because at the minute it's kind of hull down, whereas pre this patch, or pre the IS-4 buffs, I would have been able to pen him in his roof deck. You saw me looking at the roof deck there, because that's the old type weak spot. But unfortunately, it's not a weak spot on the IS-4 anymore, so I couldn't pen that. So with him roam, which is a great thing for the IS-4, because with him roaming like that, that meant I couldn't do anything. Unfortunately, even though we've got better accuracy, we're not hitting the weak spot of the 268 version 4 anymore, which is sad. The T-92 gets shut down. I'm changing position to see if I can get a shot into the IS-4. We managed to finish him off. Unfortunately, our gorilla gets shut down. And so far, this game is not looking good, because it's 3 of us against 5, and they've got 2 in our base that are unspotted, and they've got 3 that are marauding towards me. This 268 version 4 is determined to come straight for me. We get a shot into his cupola. Obviously, the closer he's getting to me is actually nicer, because it's going to be easier for me to pen him. As he's coming over, we get a shot straight into his lower plate. Don't shoot the... With the 268 version 4, don't shoot the big fat lower plate. You have to shoot lower than the lower plate. It's weird. The standard B could have killed me, but he ends up completely mucking up. We've only got 5 shells left, 1 of APCR and 4 HE. We're going to try and make sure we pen the E100. Unfortunately, the APCR round doesn't go through the turret front of the E100 there, which was kind of annoying, because I've only got HE now, so we're just going to keep splashing in with HE. I was trying to make sure I was going to hit a weaker spot to try and do as much damage, but unfortunately we get shut down by the ST1 that was in our base. But there was not much more we were going to do there, because we only had HE left. Yeah. But we finished with 2 kills, 8.2k damage, 610 assistance, ace tanker, Confederate, high caliber, 989 base XP on a loss. Unfortunately, it was a loss. There was not much we could have done. We could have been a bit more careful with our shots there to conserve ammo. But unfortunately, we ran out of the good stuff. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!